Yes, here we are as we get you ready for the second half of the NFL season. It is crazy to think that it is already the second half of the season. It is week 10, double digits here in the National Football League. And Nick, I tell you, this is, as we said here in November, this is the month of decision in the NFL. And this week, a lot of home favorites. We've got a game in Germany. We've got a little bit of everything. So are you ready to do this?
Let's go.
Absolutely. And as we look at our picks for this week, I do have Hank Indictor's picks as well. So I come in at 62, 68, and 6. And yes, that is 6, folks. 6 pushes. We had 3 just last week. And Hank is 57, 73, and 6 in what has been a very, very difficult league to figure out. And I think it's going to be more of the same this week because I think I do have a couple of upset specials in the works here like we did last week, and we'll see what we can do. But, Nick, let's get it going. And like we said, you know what? We've got a game in Germany. We've got games here in the States. We've got a little bit of everything. So let's find out what we can do. Oh, and by the way, we are already in the hole to start because we all, and when I say all, Hank and myself and everybody over at Empty the Bench did take the Falcons on Thursday night against the Panthers, and that did not work out.
I mean, are we really surprised by this by now? The whole NFL season this year has been a complete crapshoot.
Sure has. We'll see what we can do here for you this week. But yeah, that was a tough watch last night over there in Carolina. But a big win for the Panthers to keep their hopes alive in the NFC South. But we'll find out what happens here. But like we said, you know, we get it going with a game from Germany, and it's a Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner, Michael Irvin, Steve Mariucci, Sarah Walsh, and Jamie Erdahl party. That's what I'm going to call it over there from Munich, Germany on the NFL Network, as it's the Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the Bucs favorites by 2.5.
This is so wrong. And you and I think, agreed with Tom and Nick when we did Empty the Bench, episode 160, that what is going on with Vegas? Vegas makes you kind of rethink your picks this year alone because you're like, all right, the lines don't make sense. By the way, Geno, runaway comeback player of the year, in my opinion, this year.
I would say so.
And Tom Brady's going the opposite direction. Who would have thought Tom Brady's going the opposite direction and Geno is heading back to being, I don't know, dare I say he's one of the best quarterbacks in football this year?
I think he's under the right system. Yeah, that definitely does help.
I mean, and also Lockett and all those other guys are playing well. Everyone thought that with the contract issues in the offseason that really was not going to work out. But they're playing good football. And I'm going to break it out already, okay? Upset special.
There it is. Yes, absolutely. So you're taking Seattle plus the 2.5 to win outright. Yeah, I agree with you, and I do trust Geno Smith. Again, one of the crazy things he would say in 20 to 22. But you look at him, Nick, and he's finding ways to win, and Brady would appreciate that. But you know, one of the themes of Week 10 are injuries, and injuries are a theme here. And Shaq Barrett out for the Bucs. I think that's going to affect them, and that's going to give Geno Smith some more time. And let's just be honest, Nick, Seattle's just the more explosive team. And the travel, you know, one of the things that Sarah Walsh brought up in one of her many great reports this week from Germany was the travel actually not being that big of a difference. I mean, I think it was like an hour difference, they said, in travel time from Seattle to Tampa to Germany. So the travel should not be that much of a factor in this spot. Upset special number 1, Seattle wins 24-20. That's what I'm going to go with here in this one. But Hank is going to roll with the Buccaneers laying the 2.5 and maybe a little bit more Brady magic like he had last week. I know it was a low-scoring game, but Tampa's defense, but I think without Barrett, I think that's going to be a hit. Tampa's defense has been good this year, but now the loss of Barrett here, that's something to watch too.
But the offense is just a struggle. And by the way, I know him, and I don't blame him, by the way. Like, we talked about this on Review and Preview, which, by the way, I was happy to be on.
Absolutely. Check that out, folks, as well.
And he was telling me it's the whole Brady blessing and curse. And you know what? And I said, I get it. Because all these years, going all the way back to the mid-2010s, people are like, oh, Tom Brady's done. His career is washed up. And then he goes out and he wins a bunch of Super Bowls. So it's hard. But, yeah, I'm taking the upset by far. This is not even a fair fight, in my opinion.
But it will be interesting because this is a huge game for Tampa. If they win this, then they actually start to have a little bit of firm control over there in the NFC South. So it's kind of big in that regard. But you and I are both going to take Seattle, and Hank's going to roll with Tampa in game number 1. Back here in the States, it's a Joe Davis, Darryl Johnston, Pam Oliver special on the NFL and Fox. And this has been a game, speaking of injuries, it's been a big theme this entire week. It's the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills are right now a 3.5-point favorite.
This line has since dropped 2 points from when we did it on Empty the Bench. So it's like you said, the line dropped. Now, I was telling Johnny before we did the picks that basically they're out there videoing Josh Allen running around on the field, which I think is the dumbest thing ever. When a big quarterback is hurt, they have to go out and prove that he can run around on the field. And by the way, it's not his legs, folks. It's his elbow. So watching him run around on the field doesn't really matter. But even if he's back on the field, I think he's going to be compensating for that injury, major. And I think he's going to get sacked more. I think he's not going to be as consistent. I'm going to stick with what I had on the other game. I'm taking the Vikings to upset special. There's going to be a lot of that. More upset special.
Here it is, upset special number 2. Hank's going to agree with you. He's also taking Minnesota plus the 3.5. But, I said this also on my show Game On Tuesday. I think short term, if Josh Allen's going to be out any length of time, and maybe this is a week-to-week thing, but I think any length of time short term, I think the Bills can survive that and be all right. Now, what I am actually really concerned about with the Bills in this one is their defensive injuries that they've got. There's been a bunch of guys on the injury report. Pointer is out. But I think in this situation, Nick, I think Case Keenum can step in and do enough against his former team to win this one. And remember, they're coming off a bad loss, the Bills are. So maybe another Minneapolis miracle to Stephon Diggs. The line does keep coming down. I think the Bills, though, still have just enough to get this one done. So I am going to take the Bills to win and cover in Buffalo in this spot. It'll be close, but, he come off that loss last week, and I think Case Keenum, if he does start, I think he's the better option. He's the better fit for this week. And I think the Bills can survive short term, but if this ends up being a very significant injury, and that's why I don't think you can rush Josh Allen out there. I mean, if he does go out there and let's say he further damages that elbow, this all of a sudden becomes a conference-altering kind of injury for Buffalo.
Your season is over if he's done for the year. I'm just going to say that now. You're not coming back if he's hurt. Now, I like to look at the combinations in the points combo in this game and a lot of the games, and they're talking about somewhere between 43 and 43.5. Sounds like a big number for two teams, considering they're not fully at strength.
Yeah, and I still think that Bills defense, if depending on who's there, I mean, Von Miller's still there. I know, they got some other guys too. I still think they can give Kirk Cousins a fit there. But so that's what I'm going to roll with here. I'm going to take the Bills to win and cover up in Buffalo. It's a Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Oakman special on the NFL and Fox. It's the Detroit Lions traveling to Chicago to take on Justin Fields and the Bears. Kind of a sneaky game when you look at it, and the Bears are 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, the Lions, I have to give them some credit. I know it's not in the win and loss record. They're not really showing it, but you got to give them credit. They've competed all year. I didn't expect it, but they're playing a lot better football now. I've been on the record. I don't like Jared Goff. I didn't like Jared Goff all the way back to when he was in L.A. with the Rams. Was not a fan. So I think the Lions are stuck because they have his large contract to deal with. Now, who's the big receiver that was out injured a couple of weeks ago?
Monty Brown's been in and out of the lineup. He's been back in. Swift, their running back's been back in.
So if they're healthy, they'll compete. Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this. The Bears are the better team in this matchup. I can't believe I'm saying that. I haven't said that all season. This is a crapshoot. This is a pick'em game, as you can see, 3 or lower. So I'm just going to stick with the cover at this point and take the Bears.
So if you've been watching these two teams the last few weeks, and look, it's football, so you're going to watch them. But the teams have changed. You look at it, the Lions' defense has actually been playing better. The offense has been sporadic, and the opposite for the Bears. They've had actually great offense the last couple of weeks, but a not so great defense, and especially after trading away those guys at the deadline. So what gives in this spot, Nick? I say the Lions are the more consistent team. So you know what? Put that graphic up there. Upset special.
Oh,
Lions
wow.
Lions plus 2.5 to win in this spot. They're the more consistent team, maybe not the better team, but I'm going to go with the more consistent one. When you have this kind of crapshoot, that's what you got to go with. So I'm taking the Lions plus the 2.5, and so is Hank. Hank's also taking the Lions in this spot as well. So that's what we're going to roll with in this situation.
By the way, can we give credit to guys like Mark Sanchez and what was it, Kevin Kugler, who've been traveling the world, it seems like, all year?
Yeah, they were in London for 2 weeks. Then they were on the West Coast for 2 weeks after that. Then they came back. They went to Cincinnati, and now they're in Chicago. Absolutely getting their frequent flyer miles in, that's for sure. But yeah, it's a great crew, and we'll have them again here between the Lions and the Bears on Sunday. Speaking of great crews, we got Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson on the NFL and CBS as the Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs are laying 9.5, another big home number in this spot.
Now, everyone's going to say this line is big because the Jaguars managed to come back last week and win a game. Not saying that it was a great win by any stretch. Now, the Jaguars are still the giant question mark above my head right now because I don't know who they are.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, they traded for Calvin Ridley at the trade deadline, and he's not even allowed to play this year. The Chiefs are going to cover. That's the explanation I can give you.
Well, I'm going to go based on history here because the Chiefs do win at home, but they don't cover at home. And Trevor Lawrence last week came off arguably his best game as a pro. And remember, it took a lot for the Chiefs just to win in overtime against the Titans. So I'm not going to say that Trevor Lawrence is going to keep up with Mahomes, but that's a lot of points to lay. So I am going to take Jacksonville plus the 9.5. Not upset special. We're not going to go there, but I'm thinking like 31-24, something along those lines. I think that's where we're.
Hey, a touchdown covers.
That's what I'm saying. And even if that's a backdoor, because it could be, I also could see this game being 31-17, maybe mid to late fourth quarter, and Lawrence leads the Jaguars down to make
a field goal. Yeah.
Or even, well, it'll be a touchdown at spot because they won't kick a field goal down 2 scores. But 31-24, something along those lines, that's what I'm going to go with. So Jacksonville plus the 9.5 in for me. But Hank's going to agree with you. He is going to take Kansas City to win and cover. And, sooner or later, Kansas City is going to be due for a big home win. So this could be the week as well. And like you said, you know what? The Jaguars, they're hard to figure out because they lay a dud one week and the next week they put up huge points. I think they're building something there, but they do need some more help. Maybe Calvin Ridley next year surprised them and is like a low-risk, high-reward kind of receiver there. We'll see. But that's what we're going to – but so I'll take Jacksonville with the points. Hank and Nick will both take Kansas City laying the 9.5. It's a Greg Gumbel, Adam Archuleta, AJ Ross special on the NFL on CBS as Nick, the Cleveland Browns travel down to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins, and it's Miami laying 3.5 at home.
And I said this to you on ETV. I'm going to say it to you here again. What the hell is Vegas doing with this line? I mean, the Browns are not in the Dolphins class of competition this year. 3.5 points? That's it? I could see this being 8, 9, 10 points. I really do. The Browns are in free fall mode. The same thing with a bunch of other teams right now. Take the money. This is the easiest cover of the week.
See, I said that last week. I know the Dolphins were on the road last week, but I said that last week and they did not cover. So
yeah, but this is a home game. They're one of the better home teams.
I agree, and I think they're going to win, but this could be the highest scoring game of the week because the Dolphins' defense the last couple of weeks, especially through the air, has been a problem. This might be kind of an inviting spot for Jacoby Brissett to maybe air it out. But I think if the Browns are going to keep this game close, their ground game has to keep going too. And the Dolphins putting up points at a record pace, but as I said, Miami's pass defense, it's been a struggle as of late. The offense has been bailing them out. I think they'll do it again here. So here's to no more bad beats. Dolphins win and cover in what should be another good scoring game.
This was my lock, if I'm not mistaken, I think. So, yeah.
I think three guys, all three of you guys over on Empty the Bench.
I started the trend because it was my lock. Hey, I've been good on the locks this year for the most part. So
in a league that's been very, very difficult to figure out. That's a good thing.
I think I'm like 6-3 on the locks this year before this week. So
that's pretty good considering how the league's been this year. But yeah, Dolphins win and cover. You got the Dolphins. Hank's also taking the Dolphins to win in this spot. It's an Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn special on the NFL and CBS. The Houston Texans travel to MetLife Stadium to take on Daniel Jones and the New York Giants coming off their bye week. The Giants are 4.5-point home favorites.
yeah, so this line I think started at 6 earlier on in the week. Now it's starting to drop. I don't know why it's dropping. It's a little confusing to me. The Texans are not let me be careful with that. The Texans have been in quite a few games this year competing. They're not going to win games, but they've been very competitive. Lovie Smith, who somehow seems to manage to stay in this league, regardless of how many times he's been fired. I think he was with the Bears. He was also with the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't know. He gets teams to compete, even when they're as crappy as they are. I actually, and I'm going to steal a line from you, I'm even more comfortable. This line was at a 6. It's now at a 4.5. I'm taking the Giants to cover. Now, you both said, you and Hank said that coming off the bye week, could that be a trap? I doubt it because the Texans are such a bad team. If this was, say, the Eagles now, that would be a real trap game, in my opinion. So, take them to cover, and actually, Hank's pick came in also well, so...
Oh, you have his pick too. All right, good. Let's get that in here. Yeah, we were still waiting for it.
So he's taking the G-Men. G-Men with exclamation point.
I figured, and you know what? I'm going to take the Giants too. I think the reason why you may give there's 2 reasons why you would give the Texans a chance here. Damian Pierce, their great running back, because he's been playing very, very well this year, and the Giants don't put up a ton of points. So could this be like 20-13, 20-17, maybe? But I think the Giants get it done here. I'm actually more worried about the Giants next week, but we'll get to that next week when we get there. But I think this is a game also the Giants need to have because then you start entering, actually a very sneaky game next week, and then you've got your NFC East opponents coming up. Remember, they haven't really played the NFC East this season just yet, but it really starts here in the second half of the year, and we'll see what happens. I think the Xavier McKinney injury, I don't think it hurts them this week. I think it might hurt them next week and going forward. But for this week, the Giants win and cover. So we'll all take a giant sweep here over the Texans at MetLife Stadium. It's an Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, Christina Pink special on the NFL on Fox as the New Orleans Saints travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers with Kenny Pickett, and the Saints are laying 1.5 on the road.
This is one of the games I would stay away from. I really would. I would stay away from this game. If you're looking to gamble, stay away from this game at all costs. This is a battle of the real crapshoots.
Yeah.
So you have Andy Dalton and you have Kenny Pickett. 2 guys that you didn't think were going to start a game at quarterback this year. Now, I got to give Andy Dalton credit. He's playing good football. Now, is Jameis Winston going to be out of the league, or is this just a, hey, Andy, come in, stop the bleeding, and we'll put Jameis Winston in next year? I don't know. What do you think? I'm kind of stumped in a sense here.
Well, I'll tell you a big reason. I mean, here's a big reason why I love the team that I'm picking in this spot. TJ Watt looks like he's on his way to being back for Pittsburgh. And the return of Watt coupled with a banged-up, sloppy Saints squad, I think should equal an upset special. And yeah, absolutely. What qualifies as the sloppy Saints? Well, turnovers, penalties, communication issues, poor coaching. I'm looking for Kenny Pickett to have a great game. So, upset special. That's right. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win against the New Orleans Saints. But Hank's rolling with the Saints.
See, I'm leaning towards agreeing with you because, again, Michael Thomas is out for the year. That's a big wide receiver issue that the Saints have. Now, I don't know. Is Alvin Kamara healthy? You never know. They have a lot of issues going on there. Now, can Andy Dalton throw his way to victory? He could. But I've been off on the Steelers all year. I don't like them. I think they're a bad team. I think Kenny Pickett is pretty much the building block at this point. They're trying to figure out what their team is going to be going on in the future. but I think you're right. I'm gonna. I think I did this also. I think I leaned on the Steelers also.
It's a tough spot. You know why? Because the Saints are that one team that is just so hard to figure out. Because at home they shut out the Raiders, which is just unbelievable. They score 39 points against the Seahawks, but then they also have duds. You know, they go to Arizona and Dalton throws consecutive pick sixes, 3 interceptions total. He gave 42 points to them. The Saints are just too inconsistent, and I think the return of Watt might, propel the Steelers in this spot. So that's what I'm going to roll with. So Pittsburgh plus 1.5 against New Orleans. It's an Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, Amanda Renner special on the NFL on CBS as the Denver Broncos come off their bye week, travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans, and the Titans are 2.5-point favorites.
See, I would break something out, but it doesn't really work appropriately for this segment. I would break out circus music here and say Broncos country, let's ride, but that's not really appropriate for this segment. But
okay.
Yeah, this is a bad game. This is another game I would stay away from. If you have a gambling addiction, fine, bet the game. By the way, gamble appropriately, please.
Yes.
But crapshoot game. The Titans are playing really good football right now. You can't deny it. They're hot now. Who are we leaning on for the Titans right now?
It looks like Ryan Tannehill is trending towards starting Sunday.
Right, but we're all leaning on Derrick Henry. I mean, the man. What did he have? Almost two. He had 220 yards the week before, and he almost had 200 yards again this past week.
Yep.
It's Derrick Henry or bust, and I'm leaning on Derrick Henry. So I'm taking them to cover.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Derrick Henry show again because the Broncos' strength is their pass defense. Oh, that's good. Then you know what? I'm going to give it to Derrick Henry, and I'm going to have him run more than I'm going to have either Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill, whoever it is, throw it. So to me, Titans win and cover just because their run offense will propel them to win here, and I just don't trust Denver. I mean, the defense is good, but in this spot, you take the team with the better coach. That's Mike Vrabel over Nathaniel Hackett. So give me the Titans to win cover against the Broncos, and Hank's also going to take the Titans in this situation.
Have you noticed also that teams, and I was thinking of the Monday night game that we did on the live stream, that was Browns Bengals.
Yep.
And you notice that the teams that are run first obvious, the defenses have not been able to stop them. Have you noticed that? Like, they're not stopping. They're clearly telling you they're running the football, and they still can't stop.
Well, one of the things the run does also is it has that defense. It leaves that defense out on the field for long stretches of time, and that exposes anybody and everybody. So
yeah, but the Bengals embarrassed themselves against the Browns. I mean, 4 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah, Bengals are another one of those weird teams this year. You know what? But I think the run helps Tennessee to win in this spot. So let's take Tennessee to win and cover. It's Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins on the NFL on CBS as the Indianapolis Colts with new interim coach Jeff Saturday travel to Vegas to Allegiant Stadium to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders, a 5-point home favorite.
This game, even without a spread, I would have stayed away from. In every way, shape, or form. This game is confusing to me in every way, shape, or form. Who's worst? Who's the worst coach in this situation?
Vegas.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, I don't know what to do with the Raiders situation.
I'm actually, you know what? If you want me to take this one first, I know I had a thought about this on Empty the Bench, but there's a lot that's changed between Wednesday and Friday. And when you look at it, I actually think Jeff Saturday's debut here comes in a favorable spot because you look at this Colts, they're the worst-ranked offense, but you're going against a Raiders team with the worst-ranked defense. And it does look like Jonathan Taylor is going to be back for Indy on Sunday. So,
Big deal.
Yeah, now, what we get out of him because of the ankle woes that he's had is remain to be seen, but him being there should reduce the pressure for Sam Ehlinger. And I know Shaq Leonard's out, which is going to be a big deal for the Colts, but let's look at the Raiders side of things. Keeping on this injury front like we've been on all week. the Raiders did not have a good injury week, Nick. Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, both put on the injured on IR. So I think the Colts have a chance here. You know what? Upset special. Give me the Colts plus the 5. Even if it's a field goal game, that's good enough too. That's it. Colts plus 5.
I mean, you're taking them full upset special, right?
I'm gonna go the full upset. Yeah, I think I think Sam Ehlinger gets his first win here. There's too many injuries. I mean, just think about if you're Derek Carr and Devontae Adams is not. You really haven't been connecting this year, and the guys that were also supposed to help too. Now you don't have Hunter Renfrow for at least 4 weeks, and now Darren Waller is both out there too. Then you know they're going to be going to Devontae, so that kind of takes him out too.
I mean, for me, this is tough. I mean, I know the pick I took on ETB. You know me. I'm pretty honest. I try to stay with the picks I make for the most part when I come on here and I do the picks with you.
Sure.
I took the Raiders then. I think my same logic applies here that you take the Raiders. I think the coaching situation with the Colts is a mess in every way, shape, or form. Jeff Saturday is not going to be the head coach next season. Let's just admit that now. And I was listening to a lot of the analysis on ESPN and a lot of the sports talk radio junkie type shows. They were basically saying that Roger Goodell will make a phone call to the Colts if he somehow remains the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Raiders. Not that I'm a fan of Josh McDaniels by any way, shape, or form. I made that quite clear on ETB. Oh, he's the offensive genius. He's not the offensive genius. If he was an offensive genius, he would have stayed the head coach of the Broncos and not ran away like a crybaby because he didn't get what he wanted, went back to the Patriots, then left the Patriots again and took the head coaching job of a worse team. I don't know. I'm taking them to cover.
See, the thing is, too, I wonder if Jeff Saturday really is playing with, like you were just saying there a couple seconds ago. I wonder if Jeff Saturday is basically playing with house money right now. I mean, there's really no pressure on him.
He's a consultant.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually think that he comes into in kind of an interesting spot here with all the injuries that the Raiders have. We know about the mess that Vegas has been this year. There's really no pressure right now. I mean, the Colts have basically cleaned house coaching wise, and
they're tanking.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You're pretty much tanking for a quarterback in the draft now.
I mean, Sam Ehlinger, he's not going to be there next year.
No,
maybe he's going to fulfill the emergency backup role, maybe, if anything. But Jim Irsay, who's probably one of the more questionable owners in the NFL, basically came out and said, "Well, we're competing." No, you're not. You're not competing. Stop. You're not competing.
Win this game Sunday, and we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Jeff Saturday is not a head coach. Sorry. Have you ever heard of a was he a defensive end or an offensive end? I can't remember.
He was a center.
Or a center. He was a center. Have you ever heard of center as a head coach of an NFL team? Not putting him down, but you don't hear that.
No, I mean, I don't think Nick Mangold's thinking about coaching.
He'd be good. He'd be good as like one of those player / what do they call them? Like assistant to the
assistant to the coach. Yeah,
assistant to the GM, assistant to the owner. Yeah. I think they would fit good roles, but I'm taking the Raiders. But there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just because Jeff Saturday has no experience, and you have a 30-year-old play caller calling the plays coming up.
Oh, that's all fair. I mean, I can't argue with it there. I just think the injuries from the Raiders side might actually be impactful, and maybe the Colts are playing with house money in this spot. So
Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in all the NFL. Now, obviously, Travis Kelce will always be number one, but Darren Waller changes the game. Now, Derek Carr is not making him look that way. Derek Carr is not making anyone look good this year.
No. And Hunter Renfrow being out there also a big deal, not just because he's a local kid down here, but
stay away from the game. Stay away from this game.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to really put money on this, or we had to really put money on this, I would not touch this game. That's for sure. Yeah, but we have to because we're picking every game. So Nick's going to take the Raiders. I'm going to take the Colts. Hank's also taking the Colts plus the 5 in this spot down over there in Las Vegas. America's game of the week. It's Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi on the NFL on Fox. It's the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Lambeau Field to take on Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know who else there on the Green Bay Packers. And the Cowboys are 4.5-point road favorites.
By the way, and I said this on ETB, and I know I keep referring to some stuff on there, but it's weird that we're now looking at Lambeau as a underdog lately because of how bad the Packers have been playing. Aaron Rodgers looks horrible. I don't even know, and I don't know how to explain it. It's so bad, but I swear if I have to hear this one more time, then I'm going to drive myself crazy. Because that's all Aaron Rodgers is doing. Relax. There's no problems here. Don't worry about us. Even though you're on a 5-game losing streak, take the money. Not even a question.
And the problem now, one of the problems, it's not even the offense. It's not even just the offense with the Packers anymore. Now you start getting to the defense, because when they absolutely need to have a stop, they don't get it. And now they've got injuries again. Again, injuries are the story. We talked about it with the receiving corps, but you have to add Eric Stokes, Rashawn Gary, Romeo Doubs. I don't know how they get this done. Maybe there's a way against Dallas, but Dallas's peak is starting to peak right now, and I don't see it. We all know about the Cowboy defense too. Even if they hold Dallas to 20-something points, the Packers just don't have enough talent to score right now. So Dallas minus the 4.5 is what I'm going to go with. But Hank is taking the Packers. Now, he thinks the Packers are going to keep it really close. I think he's taking Dallas to win, but he's going to grab the 4.5 with Green Bay, maybe make it a field goal game in Lambeau. But I'm just
going to say this now. If they lose, you're going to have to clean house almost if they lose this game. By the way, we didn't say it. It's the Mike McCarthy revenge game.
It is the Mike McCarthy revenge game. That's right.
But if they lose, you need to sound the real alarms, and I mean the real alarms.
But you talk about trying to start over. But here's the thing too, and this is going to be a trend with teams. So much money is invested in the quarterback that it's hard to fill up those other spots. And Green Bay's like that too. But Dallas wins and covers, and I think Green Bay continues to spiral out of control in this one. It's a Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake special on the NFL on Fox. Is the Arizona Cardinals travel to SoFi Stadium to take on the Los Angeles Rams. And once again, injuries are a factor in this game, as the Rams have now become a 3-point home favorite.
So Stafford was in concussion protocol. That's number one. I don't know about the rest of the injuries, but both teams are basically... I don't know. And now we're hearing that Kyler Murray might be game time decision.
Yeah. So the latest as of Friday was that Sean McVay for the Rams said that Matt Stafford is quote unquote making good progress. He is questionable to play, but he is making good progress. But the situation there with Arizona is a little bit different. Kyler Murray, who's been dealing with a hamstring problem, is going to be a game-time decision, according to head coach Cliff Kingsbury, which means we might be seeing John Wolford and the Cardinals in this spot. And, Nick, it's tricky because on ETB, I actually took the Cardinals, but that was before we found out the situation with Stafford and before the situation with Kyler Murray. But, yeah, if Kyler's going to be game-time decision and you're going to go to John Wolford, I'm actually more comfortable taking the better head coach, and that's Sean McVay and the Rams. So I'm going to take – and even though this line is rising, I'm going to take the Rams to win and cover in probably what will be a lower-scoring game, but that's still good enough for me. So the Rams to win is the play.
Yeah, no Kyler, no win for the Cardinals. Take the money. Absolutely.
And Hank's also taking the Rams to win and cover in L.A. It's Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark on Sunday Night Football on NBC as we go to San Francisco, where the Los Angeles Chargers take on Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers, and the 49ers are a touchdown favorite.
This is probably one of the best Sunday Night Football games of the year so far, in my opinion. The Chargers have looked a little bit better. I'm not going to say they're perfect. Don't like their head coach, but that's kind of on the record for all of us. We don't like their head coach.
Yeah.
I think Justin Herbert is really the leader of this team, not Brandon Staley. The Niners are just the hottest team in football, period. Up there with the Seahawks. By the way, all in division. Christian McCaffrey looks like a whole rejuvenated player since he's been traded. I like the line. Take the money.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be it looks like a good game, but I don't think the outcome's going to be pretty here. I think the 49ers are going to win big because you look at this Chargers team and yeah, they've been stacking wins, but they've been also stacking injuries. And also last week, they did not play well against the Falcons and they barely were able to eke out a win there. Now, granted, a win is a win, you take it and you move on, but it gets exposed against good teams like the 49ers. And
they just had a major injury. Jason Verrett, who was just coming off an injury, off of rehab, tore his ACL again in practice.
Yeah, that is a factor, but to me, Herbert looked normal, but I just don't think he's going to have enough time Sunday because we all know about how great this 49ers pass rush is, and the Chargers were not a good run defense team before, and then they lost Austin Johnson to a season-ending injury. And that means Christian McCaffrey should be running roughshod all over these Chargers teams. I think the Chargers win by at least 10. So 49ers to win and cover on Sunday night. And Hank's also going to take the 49ers on Sunday night football. And then we wrap up the week in Philadelphia with an NFC East showdown with Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters on ESPN as the Washington Commanders, who seem to be rejuvenized. I know they had a tough loss, but they are rejuvenized. They traveled to Philadelphia to take on Jalen Hurts is who he's trying to say. Too many Justins on my mind. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles 11-point home favorites.
So this is interesting. This line has not moved at all. That's rare that you don't see a line fluctuate like 1 to 3 points throughout the week usually. This line has remained consistent from the time we did ETB to now on Friday.
Yeah.
So the Eagles are the hottest team. I keep saying the hottest team, but the best, I shouldn't say the hottest team, but the best team in football. They're undefeated. They're 8-0, or what are they now? They're 9-0? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're 9-0. They're undefeated. So I feel bad for the Commanders. Their situation is a tough one. Carson Wentz, which, by the way, I wish he would just retire and leave the game of the NFL because he can't stay healthy. Did you see what they did on the board? At what's the name of their field now?
Yeah,
is it still FedEx?
Or
I think
no? So, yeah, but I saw so when they were putting out their 2023 season ticket package, they actually had Heineke's face on it and not Carson Wentz.
Does that tell you what they think of Carson Wentz? Now you also have all the ownership issues going on with Dan Snyder and hiring Bank of America to start the selling process for the teams. You have all that going on behind the scenes, and then you have the financial impropriety issues with the government. By the way, I think that's planned timing, if you ask me.
No coincidence.
Take the money. I think the Commanders have way too much going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, see, now the Commander, I mean, to be fair, they have looked rejuvenized these last few weeks since Taylor Heineke is
agreed.
But some of it's been luck, some of it's been an improved defense. But you look at this Eagles team, I mean, they've forced the most turnovers in the NFL. They've given up the fewest. And Washington is tied for 29th in takeaways. To me, that means that Philly's going to get some extra possessions in this one. I think they take advantage of that. And just like in their first meeting, I think they roll all over the Commanders. So Philadelphia laying the 11 on Monday night. That's the play. It's what you're taking, and that's what Hank's going to take too. Philadelphia to win and cover on Monday Night Football. Well, a lot of storylines coming out of the NFL, a lot of storylines in the world of sports. Of course, Hank and I will be back on Tuesday for episode 33 of Game On, and then right back with our Monty Moment on Thursday, and then our NFL picks again next Friday. And of course, folks, subscribe to our YouTube channel at ETB Network and click that notification bell so you know when our program is going to be out, because you got Thanksgiving coming up and our schedules will adjust. But we're coming down the stretch here of both the NFL and the college season, and of course the sports world, it never ends. So Nick, thanks for filling in today. We will see you on Beyond the Bench on Saturday, on Empty the Bench on Wednesday. And folks, I'll enjoy your weekend. I'll see you back with Hank on Tuesday, Thursday for the Monty Moment, and back here for our NFL picks once again next week.